End of Sparta by by it's a novel by Victor Davis Hansen. Yeah, let's read some historical stuff. Preface. This is a story of the great march against Sparta, the dream of the general Epaminondas of classical Thebes, whom the ancient Greeks and Romans acclaimed as the greatest man the classical world produced. Today we hear a little of him. We know even less about all that his armies accomplished in a dramatic 2 year period between 379 and 369 BC. Most contemporary accounts of that war were long ago lost. Our few extant historians apparently did not like the Thebans and so often misrepresented them or left them out of their narratives entirely. Most often, Greek writers focused instead on Sparta and Athens. Athens, I think, correct. All that helps to explain why Epaminondas has faded from our memories and why I offer a novel about what he accomplished. Sometime in July 371 BC, Theban Epaminondas and his Boeotian Greeks shattered the phalanx of the supposedly invincible Spartans at the Battle of Leuctra. They killed the Spartan king Cleombrotus and crushed his warrior elite. The next year, not content with that stunning victory, Epaminondas, a follower of the philosopher Pythagoras, who believed that our souls lived beyond our bodies and were judged by our deeds during our incarnate existence, led a grand coalition of Greeks southward to our run Sparta. Yeah, like he was believing that our soul transforming to some another galaxy and aliens using that to as application to manage. Yeah, sounds like a horror movie. The plan was to liberate the people of the Peloponnesus, and apparently to record Greece itself. They were to found great citadels to hem and in a weakened Sparta and to free forever the serfs of its colony across the mountains in Messenia. That way, Epaminondas might cripple Sparta by robbing it of agricultural labor and thus ensure that no Greek people should be serfs to other Greeks and that the Spartans, like other Greek militiamen, would finally have to grow their own food rather than train constantly for war. Still, we cannot quite fathom. What is it? Let's check out definition. Fathom, a unit of length equal to 6 feet, approximately 1.8 meter, chiefly used in reference to the depths of water. Oh, it's like kind of measuring system. Okay. Still, we cannot quite fathom all the reasons why tens of thousands followed this mystic general. Plunder, of course, strategic necessity, probably idealism, perhaps. We only know that his preemptive invasion of the Peloponnesus began the end of Sparta, at least as the preeminent power as the Greeks had known. It was it for centuries. Nor do classical scholars understand the degree to which Pythagorean idealism energized these Theban liberators. Pythagoras was over Pythagoras. Let me check pronunciation. Pythagoras was always a shadowy figure even to the Greeks. He had long been dead by the time of Epaminondas's contemporaries derided Pythagoreans and their practices as the subversive cult. They certainly seem strange. The embrace of vegetarianism, equality between classes and sexes, reincarnation, when it's like when you're resurrecting someone's soul. If I'm not wrong, let me check out. Reincarnation, the rebirth of a soul in a new body. Yeah, exactly. So reverence for nature's harmony and order, avoidance of extremes, and fascination with numerical symmetries all frightened traditional Greeks. Apparently, the soul could achieve its lasting perfection and rest only by denying the earthly appetites. They was high or what? Like some weird stuff I reading. It was almost considered trapped within matter of some sort in cyclical fashion, re-entering a plant and animal or human until it was cleansed of temptation and at last set free to become incorporeal and immortal. The divine was visible around us for those willing to train hard to appreciate it. Prime numbers cannot be divided. Man, not nature, creates artificial and unnatural notions of diet. Social intercourse and rank should be dissolved. Plants and animals have souls and one with men and those sacrosanct. What the fuck is that? Let me check. Sacrosanct. Sacrosanct adjective, especially of a principle, place, or routine regarded as too important or valuable to be interfered with. The individual's right to work has been upheld as sacrosanct. Regarded as too important or valuable to be interfered with. Seems like something important. Let me read that sentence again. Plants and animals have souls, and one with men and those sacrosanct. Suppression of the ego and material acquisition alone help us to glimpse the godly. For the Pythagorean farmer, the divine was found by cultivating symmetry out of savage chaos. For the statesman, the ideal was to return men to their natural free state without arbitrary rank. For the citizen, he should avoid eating meat and not be embarrassed of using the left and traditionally unlucky hand. Somehow, for Epaminondas and his circle, all that translated into an idealism of freeing the serfs of Sparta, or at least the philosophical Wiener. It's like Veneer. Wiener. What is it? A thin decorative covering of fine wood applied to a coarser wood or the material. But why it sounds like a pronunciation is different. It sounds like I guess I thought a winner, but it's like a vanner. Okay. Okay, let me read that again. Somehow, for Epaminondas and his circle, all that translated into an idealism of freeing the serfs of Sparta, or at least 1 minute. Commercial break. If you want to buy a car, go to the link toyota.com. So, for the Pythagorean farmer, the divine was found by cultivating symmetry out of savage chaos. For the statesman, the ideal was to return men to their natural free state without arbitrary rank. For the citizen, he should avoid eating meat and not be embarrassed of using the left and traditionally unlucky hand. Somehow, for Epaminondas and his circle, all translated into an idealism of freeing the serfs of Sparta, or at least the philosophical banner of a shrewd strategy to weaken rival Spartan military power. The catalysis of this story of Epaminondas, the farmers of the clan of the Malgidai, Melon, his slaves Chion and Neto, and their fellow rustics, let me check, rustic, relating to the countryside rural have a simplicity and charm that is considered typical of the countryside. It's like a stereotypical behavior of countryside people, rustic, okay, and their fellow rustics from the highland orchards and vineyards of empty Helicon. These characters, unlike most others in the novel, are not found in the historical record, but they are sort of people who so often appears as farmers in the walks and days of Hesiod, various comedies of Aristophanes, and the letters about rural life that have come down to us under the name of Alciphron. Alciphron. Yeah, I think it's kinda Greek name, Alciphron. A word is needed on the use of dialogue. How can Greek-speaking literary characters belonging to a foreign world, some 2500 years past, sound authentically ancient and yet be understandable to a modern English reader? Classical Greek authors themselves wrote in what we today might call a formal style, their own elevated vocabulary and complex syntax certainly were not realistic and would have been recognized as such by the proverbial man in the street. Indeed, both public orations and recorded private dialogue, whether found in Thucydides' history, Plato's repartee, or the verses of Sophocles, were not intended to reflect actual speech. Much less did Greek prose mimic the spoken word heard daily in Thebes or Athens. Even at their most colloquial expression, Greek literary prose and poetry were whirled away from the accessibility of American popular slang. So I have tried to strike a balance, avoiding both the extremes of the formal prose of 19th century English historical fiction written. I think it's boring. Let's read, let's start reading the chapter, this all blah 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 theory shit. We don't need that. So, part 1, Holy Leuctra. Okay, chapter 1, Melon comes to Leuctra. Leuctra, I guess it's kind of city name. Okay, a cart approached. Okay, the first word that I don't know. Cart, what does it mean? Cart. A strong open vehicle with 2 or 4 wheels. Cart, it's like a carting, typically used for carrying loads and pulled by a horse. Oh, I get your point. Yeah, that's why I think it's general calling cartage. Oh, that shit with the horse. A cart approached raising a high dust trail. A few more hoplite. Hoplite? Let me check. Haplite. Haplite. It's mean a heavily armed foot soldier of ancient Greece. Oh, okay, it is Haplet and it means soldier. Okay, a few more Haplet soldiers for the outmanned army. Atop the hill in the center of the plain of Leuctra, a lookout man of Epaminondas was already yelling out the news. Proxenus the Platain has spotted the wagon in the distance, but only one, a single ox cart cat, maybe. Sound like a cat, but it's cat. Cart. Maybe. A single ox cart, maybe. Making its way up the switchbacks from the town of Thespiae. That surely meant Melon from MT Helicon had come to battle at Leuctra as he had promised. He was late, but here nonetheless for the final reckoning with the Spartans, and it looked as if he came with 2 other men as well. He's here. He's here. Melon of the Thespiae is here with Epaminondas, or at least almost here. Proxenus did not wait for the wagon to near. He ran down to the camp of Epaminondas to tell his generals that the apple, the melon of the Spartans' dreaded prophecy, had at last come to battle, as if the awaited men were now worth 1,000, if not 5,000 at least. The presence of melon, the apple, would win over the hesitant horsemen and the scared farmers and the ignorant tanners and potters as well. Could not the consul start his weary night and muster the army for battle? Oh yeah, Proxenus thought all the silly, superstitious Boeotians would at last fight now. They would battle not for right or even their land, but buoyed by the idea, would destroy the Spartan army with this aging cripple of prophecy, Melon, son of Melgis, at their side, and General Epaminondas at their front. Melon saw ahead the lookout running down the hill, but made no point of it. He was in the back of the cat and stretched his legs out. The Thespian also ignored the singing of one of his slaves, Gorgas, beside him. Instead, he pointed to the other with the reins, Chion, to find good ground and let old loud Gorgas to be. Melon's feet without sandals were now dangling from the open backside. His old, twisted leg was wrapped. He had bound it with the leather straps for battle. Melon had wedged himself among the foot and arms propped up in the back of the deep cart and had just woken up again when a wheel jolted out of the stone ruts and slammed back in. The groans of the ox as the wagon kept uphill a bit longer, had helped to rouse Melon from his dark, returning dreams of a high mountain hut. The shack was not the one on his own farm on the uplands of empty Helican, not at all. Instead, commercial break. Let me check it's still recording or not. Yeah, okay. So instead, it was alien and had something to do with this impending war and seemed to be shared somehow with Gorgeous or Gorgus. Who the fuck knows the pronunciation? But it was far away, cold, and he sensed it to a dreaded south. How he wished the dream interpreter Hypnorchus were here with his red letter scrolls that made sense of the nonsense of the night visions and taught which dreams were false and which could prove true. In these apparitions, the shed was also shrouded in rain and winter fog. High and spruce trees somewhere amid the clouds, the hazy peaks around it were foreign and not those of his Helican. His Gorgus, or Georges Gorgus, who the fuck knows their Greek names? Let's call him Gorgus. His Gorgus was there too, just as he was here now, still singing his Tirtaios, but different looking and sounding as well. His other two slaves, Netta and Chion, that's their names, they were also in this faraway vision. He remembered that much and accepted that the dreams became more frequent as the war loomed closer. But Melon was now full awake, and he sensed Gorgus was too likewise roasted from the same dream. Melon looked about Boeotia again as the wagon slowly creaked past the hill summit to a flat meadow. He saw no shed of sounds like no shit, but no shed of his dreams anywhere, but he heard his name shouted by some guards off to the right. Otherwise, the cut grain fields were quiet and empty. Not a Spartan yet to be seen. A brief lull had a brief lull. What the fuck is lull? Looks like lol, but it's lull. Lal. Okay, pronunciation lal. It's mean calm or sent to sleep, typically with the soothing sound of movements. For example, the rhythm of the boat lulled her sleep. Okay, it is like, you know, sounds for get you to sleep. Okay. A brief lull. What the fuck was that? I forget already. Brief lull, yeah. A brief lull had taken hold of the countryside. The early summer threshing was long over. The grapes had their first color on the greener hillsides. So all was quiet for tomorrow's battle. For all the summer heat, his Boeotia was not nearly as dry, not so barren as he feared it might be. Towering empty Parnassus, another fucking weird name, was at his rear. A peak higher than Helicon with a touch of the undying snow even in summer. To his left arose a rocky tomb by the sea. Up there was the temple of Apollo. he had hiked the pathway with Malgus even after his father had stopped seeing the older Olympian gods and had turned instead toward worship of the Pythagoreans, whose god was Lord Logos and whose priests were philosophers, claiming that the divine was not just, more powerful than man, but more moral as well. On behalf of this god, long ago his father Malgus had died at the battle at Coronia. For all this land, long ago Melon had ruined his leg against the Spartans, and for all the Boeotians, his only son, the best of the three of the Malgidae, was tomorrow willing to ride into the spears of the Spartan horse. As he scanned the plains and hills around Leuctra, Melon saw now how the farmer creates his own better world of trees and vines. He gets lost. Wine? Is it wine or like? Let me check. Climbing. It is vine. Sorry, it's not like a W. It's a V, and pronunciation is vine. A climbing or trailing woody stained plain of the grape family. Yeah, another fucking English weird word, which sounds like another word, but it's actually another word. Yeah. He gets lost in it and needs someone to bring him out of his refuge. His his son had now done that for him, and so brought him to the grand vision of Epaminondas. But then again, Lophis had never fought the Spartans, and who did, as Melon had might wish to never again, and so would remember why the world of the orchard and vineyard was far safer than the chaos of what men produce in town. Yet, then again, no man can be the good citizen alone on his ground, although, is it although? What's the fucking right pronunciation? Although. Oh yeah, although, but sounds like also, but it's although. Although, okay. Although Melon had tried that for 30 years and more in between his service for the Boeotians, a farm may hide failure, but be a self to hurt and sorrow, even disguise fear and timidity, tam, tammy daddy. Sounds like Indian word. Okay, timidity. So, timidity, what the fuck does it mean? Lack of courage, confidence. Okay, in other words, not confident. Even disguise fear and timidity. Yeah, it's not timidity. Yeah, timidity. Okay, but it cannot be a barricade of peace when there's a mayhem outside its walls, and there was now plenty of that at Leuctra. As he neared the creek of Leuctra, Milan saw again from the jostling wagon that his Beotz was a holy place. It was no pasty of mashes and dollars the way the Spartans slandered it. If it were, why would they be here this day to take it? Question mark. It was time anyway for this settling up tomorrow. Melon thought even if it meant that the Malgidae would have to mortgage their all, himself, Chion, Gorgos, and Lophis, maybe even the farm itself. The fight was not yet about Epaminondas freeing the slaves of the south. He assured himself, not entirely tomorrow, not now about the Pythagorean dream of we all equal that would take the gods to enforce, know about the promises of oracles and seers that Melon was the apple who had to fight, and Leuctra for Epaminondas to win and for a Spartan king to die. Apart from all that, Melon and his son Lophis would battle just this once more to push the invaders of his soil, or at least he thought he would. Since he had not yet met this Epaminondas, this huge jar into which everyone seems to throw their dreams, fears, and hopes. The seer said the men of his age were not like grandfathers of their grandfathers who had saved the Hellenes of the Persians at Marathon. Melon's debased generation was said not even to have been the equal of their grandfathers, who had helped the Spartans stop Athens from gobbling down Hellas. But now the Boeotians, fucking every time this fucking name is hard to say, Boeotians, right here. Tomorrow they could at least end Sparta? Question mark. That would prove that the police was not through yet, that the blood of the heroes of Hellas, of Miltiades, of Lysander, of Pagondas still ran in the veins of the Boeotian farmers in Leuctra. So a sense of contentment, of eudaimonia had come over Melon, son of it's not melon or watermelon, it's a name, Melon, Melon, son of Melges, as they had left his farm this past morning for his veins, what the fucking, I forget, vein, okay, for its veins and trees and tall grass, and for fear of being found wanting in the eyes of the dead, he would pick up his spear for his son Lophis and his son's young wife Damo, and their boys and their neighbor Staphis, who had braved the hoods of the Thespians in the assembly, and for the simple folk of his Thespia, who never had harmed Sparta. He would fight Sparta and seek to end Sparta. Staphis with the smellless single cloak and a bleary eye, and his thick arms with the least likely hoplite or hoplite? Haplite, meaning heavily armed foot soldier of ancient Greece. Haplite, okay. So, again, Staphis with the smelly single cloak and a bleary eye and his stick arms was the least likely haplite in the Thespia, and the only one who had joined the Malgidae for battle. Even now, Melon recalled the rabble in assembly back home who had hooted the Veen man Staphis down when he alone had called for the town to master with Epaminondas. Actually, I still don't understand what's going on. Like, one guy was fighting with another guy, and that's it. We know, in quote, we know Staphis had screamed back at them that the Pythagoreans will join Epaminondas, whoever this general is. Vine growers rarely at the ear of the assembly, and he was not about to lose his moment as he bellowed out more. And we know his fellow Thebans will as well. And those who could use plunder from the dead on the battlefield may wish to go to Leuctra. Others who hate Sparta will line up in the front rank But why should we farmers on the high ground of Helicon care whether the Spartans invaders touched the wheat land of the lowlanders below or trample our veins? Why would I, with two daughters and a gout-footed wife, risk a spear in my gut? Risk a spear in my gut. Sounds nice. But in modern slang, I think it's gonna sound like why I have to risk my own ass, yeah? Okay. When my grapes overripe and rot on the vine for the want of pickers, why? Well, I will tell you. For the name of Helicon, of course, and for the pride of our Thespiae, and for holy Boeotia that bore and raised us, yes, for the idea that no Spartan will ever again barrack into the ground of the betters, and that on the tomorrow we shall end Sparta for good as we knew it. For all that Staphes, will walk alone to find a slot in the front line of my general Epaminondas. The end of the quote. Now remembering all the lofty words of the defiant Staphes as he neared the enemy and camped at Leuctra, Melon sensed like Staphes that decay. What the fuck is decay? Let me check out the meaning. Decay, it's mean okay, pronunciation like daka. Okay, daka. Daka. Sounds like Arabic word. Daka. It's mean rot or decompose through the action of bacteria and fungi. Okay, another meaning cause to rot or decompose. A decayed cabbage leaf. I don't know. I didn't get what the fuck is that. Okay, it seems like removing something. Okay, that deca was not fated. Decline was a choice, was a wish even to idle, I think, yeah. Idle. It's mean avoiding work, being lazy. Oh, sounds interesting. Idle. Okay, it's idle. To idle and to lounge and willingly to become lesser folk. Rust that appear to feed on the hard iron of what their parents had wrought. In Boeotia, the to fall, it would not be because of Lycius and his Spartans, or Persians from across the sea, or the wild tribes who swept from Macedon, but because lesser Boeotians simply let them in, preferring wine and flatter girls to blood and iron. The farmers of Helicon had the good and on their side. They had never yet marched down into Laconia to bother the Spartans. Melon had never sung war. Melon had never sung war songs like the war-loving Spartans did. But now, today, they were burning his homeland of Boeotia and nearing his police Thespia. Until now, for much of his life, he certainly had not had much feeling, one way or another, about their Helot slave, at least not until this summer. But the Spartans had provoked Epaminondas, and now the general, in fury, would risk thousands of Boeotian farmers kill it for the freedom of the Messenian serfs and to end Sparta for good. Is that the Nemesis? Nemesis. What is it? Nemesis. 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 It's a Turkish name who's selling kebab there. No, it's Nemesis. Nemesis. Yeah, really sounds like Turkish one. Okay, meaning the inescapable agent of someone's or something downfall. Inescapable agent of someone or something downfall. The balance. Okay, another meaning. a long-standing rival, an archenemy, like agent who the agent who captured or what? Okay, is that the nemesis that the hubris Sparta has earned, and their ruin that was to come at last? But was there another way to stop them? Surely not, at least not for good. A wall of stone and a mountain perhaps could block a line of advancing Spartan hoplites, what the fuck? Haplet, okay, it's a haplet. It's mean heavily armed foot soldier of ancient Greek. Yeah, I heard this before, but I forget. Okay, haplet. A line of advancing Spartan haplets, but not other mere men, at least as he had known them until now. A man Melon now smiled at his wild thoughts. A man Melon now smiled at his wild thoughts, could think of a lot as he rested in the back of a cart on the way to war. Each spring, the tall men of Sparta from the south came to touch when the grain of Boeotia grew heavy and dry. This summer, almost on a town crier's schedule, King Agesilaus had ordered the other thing, his royal partner Cleombrotus, to bring in another army. The two promised that Boeotia would be theirs before the rumors of war and promises of revolution spread to the south and took flesh. Before the rest of Hellas got drunk, they also said the mad idea that the poor man with nothing could vote in the assembly. I think, oh yeah, assembly, yeah, assemble, yeah, assemble. It's mean a group of people gathered together in one place for a common purpose. It's like a team, yeah, a group of people elected to make laws or decisions. Assemble, assemble. Okay. So the two promised that Boeotia would be theirs before the rumors of war and promises of revolution spread to the south and took flesh before the rest of Hellas got drunk. They also said on the mad idea that the poor man with nothing could vote in the assembly right alongside the noble with everything and put wars in charge of the better. All that would ruin was what was once good in Hellas, or so they also say. Boeotia knew that Cleombrotus, if his army won at Leuctra tomorrow, would then unleash his henchmen, leeches, to kill the Pythagoreans of Thebes. Leeches would drown them all up, since their talk about equality was at the root of this democracy, and their notion that they are one God judged men on their merit rather than, like the Olympians, by their power and nobility. The Spartans were worried not just against the Boeotians, but against the notion of democracy itself. Melon knew Epaminondas was right to face the Spartans down, even though he did not believe he was fated to kill a Spartan king, or that any such silly prophecy was needed in the ranks to win. He was there instead to do some big thing. He would accomplish something different from the last years, to end his quiet and plunge into the roaring storms. surf rather than hear it crash from a safe distance. Perhaps the muscles of his chin and his own skill with the spear would put an end to it all. Who better than these two veterans could stop the Spartans? Tomorrow was a good a day as any to start here at this fight beside Leuctra Creek. Then a strong breeze blew across his face from the south, and Melon was back out of his dreams of the day and fully awake again. Once again, the lame farmer from the Helican, and no longer the would-be savior of Hellas. The wagon had pulled up well beyond the outer edge of the Theban camps, almost alone on the upland plateau. Plateau, what is it? Oh, like maybe plateau, yeah, plateau. An area of relative level high ground. Okay, plateau. So, 1,010 spread down the slope to the gully. Is it gully? Galley. A water-worn ravine. Galley. Sounds like old-fashioned word. 1,010 spread down the slopes to the galley at Leuctra. The wide creek of Leuctra was almostly trickled by summer, more fold and black with moss than white with running foam. Finally, the three neared the flat top of the hillock most distant from the center of the Theban camp. Some oaks and a laurel tree there shaded a small spring that fed a clean stony pool. Only a few Theban tents were this far up across the way on the neighboring rise above their army below. Gorgas was still singing his most peculiar Spartan tune. It is noble thing for a good man to die, falling among the front fighters, fighting on behalf of his fatherland. The harsh beat sounded like some nonsense from an ancient Spartan war song of the poet Tityrus. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know. It's someone Greek name. Tityrus. Even though the three in the wagon were supposed to be Boeotians pledged up to fight for General Epaminondas, the final arrivals from empty Helicon to the Boeotian camp. Gorgas had kept on with his song, even as the wagon passed by the Boeotian campfires. All the louder, the more numerous the enemy tents appeared on the hills. Okay, commercial break for drinking water because my throat dry like at the desert. Yeah, 1 minute. So, welcome back. Gorgas had kept on with his song, even as the wagon passed the Boeotian campfires. All the louder, the more numerous the enemy tents appeared on the hills across the gully. In his defense, he often claimed that before the Malgidai he captured him, he too had been a Helot, a noble of Messenia born far to the south, but one Spartan freed and Spartan trained. Now, with 70 summers and maybe more behind him, his gravely voice kept croaking out a Doric song, lines like "fighting on behalf of his fatherland." Yeah, I think it was like this, but maybe like a rap, fighting on behalf of his fatherland. Yeah, come on. So, but whose fatherland did he mean? The closer the wagon had come to the army of the Boeotians, the wilder the mind of Gorgas became. He decided now that he did not like at all this idea of fighting against his old benefactors, the Spartans, not even if they were here up north tramping on his master's ground, and he had not been with them for more than 20 years. Only with the threat of the lash had Melon dragged him with armor to the stream here at Leuctra, and Gorgas suspected that these Boeotian peaks were not fighting tomorrow just as the defenders against the Spartans' invasion, at least not entirely, or even that this bloodletting would be the end of it. Instead, if they won tomorrow, if they beat their betters, they would promise endless battles to come in the south for Epaminondas. He was their rash dreamer who got them drunk on notions that they were going to be liberators and frees of chattel slaves and so become better even than the slave owning gods on Olympus themselves. Notions far more dangerous than fighting for mere plunder, pride, or revenge. Could not a brave man kill that faker, slit his throat, clip off his head, and so save untold men from dying tomorrow? Yet Gorgas, maybe Jorgus, I don't know what the fuck's, as I said before. Okay, let's say Gorgas. Yet Gorgas still kept arguing with himself as he chanted not quite a Spartan lower, for he was also loyal to Melon in his way and had also known as a young helot the hard stroke of a Spartan lash, one that cut far deeper than did the Thespian. His grudge was more with the madman Epaminondas, who wanted endless war, not mere battle of an hour or two, total war, and just to defeat Sparta, but to end the Spartans, and not to free a helot or two, but to free all of them. Even his recluse master Melon would no doubt listen to the firebrand Epaminondas. His entire clan of Helicon already talked of setting up democracy, such a fantasy where dogs and birds could vote alongside land-owning citizens, of marching into his Sparta, of building vast free citadels in the Peloponnesus, of towering stone, of liberating the Hellenes so that the Spartan lords would finally have to farm and could not fight, of turning Hellas upside down and putting the wars over their betters. Yeah, as I know, democracy was created, like this ideology was created originally in Greece. Yeah, Greek people created democracy, like in other countries, in another part of the planet, people was yelling to the forest, throwing rocks, like was acting like animals. But in Greek, they already was talking about democracy, human rights and stuff like that. So Hellas, and all this craziness for what? Old Gorgus now asked himself on the eve of battle, if his master in the back of the wagon was mumbling in his dreams, why could not he as well? Thereby, the Boeotians claim as a Pythagorean lie that all creatures who bleed are equal and all our souls become happy in their hereafter for lives well lived. If victory tomorrow led to that lotus land, well, then better defeat and death for his master and himself in the noble Hellas rather than to live on in the new bastard one. As Gorgos kept dreaming and chanting out his poet Tirtaios on the ride to the battlefield, he forgot again that they were already pissing Amy to the army of Epaminondas. So soon he was back in his trance as his singing returned to his childhood in Laconia. The slave closed his eyes. He could still dream, more so now than ever. Chion had the reins, not he. Here on this eve of the end, all the more he could feel thousands of Spartans were nearby in the hills across the plain. He thought he could see, even feel, the front line of the enemy Spartans ahead, thousands of tall men in red capes and long black braids. They would be grim still, just like he remembered them as a boy the first time he saw hoplites. What the fuck is this? Hoplites. It's mean heavy armed. Oh my god! Again this word. He saw hoplites again under Brasidas. The Spartan Homoio had all been marching to pipe music, just like they did when he was later captured in the Nemea battle. Their shields would be out chest high, the spears all lowered, Bristol plates, helmets, greaves, all would be dazzling in shiny bronze, horsehair crests bobbing, scarlet cloaks flapping in the wind, all in perfect order. A porcupine as deadly as it was beautiful, with the quills out and ready for stabbing. Gorgas thought he could almost see the death walk of his noble red-caped killers, on how he wished he were with them, and not here with the soon-to-be losers at his side. So, it's not the end of the first chapter, and for be honest, like I didn't get everything because of my broken English, but like in general, it's all about fighting, being against the Sparta, invade the cities, and if this was like interesting for you, you can like this video and say in comments below your opinion. You want to listen, continue this one or not. Yeah, see you next time.